Whether you're a player or a hater or just indifferent, one can't really argue just how successful Genshin Impact is as a game. From making $1 billion in less than 6 months after release to making an average of $160 million per month, okay? Per month! While boasting around 64 million monthly active players. And, might I add, okay, they made a bigger profit than PlayStation's entire division in 2022. You realize how crazy this is, huh? This is a game on PlayStation, and they made more money than the console itself. And they didn't just beat them by a small number, they made $400 million more than PlayStation, okay? This is the power of anime gacha. Now here's the kicker, okay? Because on that same year, they made $400 million more than PlayStation. MiHoYo, which is Genshin Impact's developer, faced an existential, never-before-seen threat to its game and to its studio. And what brought this on wasn't an envious Western developer or a ruthless Chinese competitor at home. No, it was its own government. And it risked everything.
我在北京
That always makes me laugh. So what the hell happened? Well, I'm glad you asked, because we're gonna check it out together. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. China? Interfering in something? No way, right? No way! But this, catastrophe wasn't just limited to Genshin Impact. They interfered in the lives of anyone unfortunate enough to be living on Chinese soil in 2022. Well, how exactly? Look, it's simple. If I say pandemic, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Unless you live in Sweden or Belarus, you probably quarantined from 2020 up to 2021. Thankfully though, you still had access to food, water, and could, if you wanted to, leave your apartment or house to breathe in the fresh air, yeah? Right? I hope so. Now, unfortunately, from February 28th to August 7th, there's a good chance that if you lived in China, you can't say the same. These were unprecedented lockdowns because of the Omicron spread. They came out of nowhere, and the Chinese government took it upon themselves to say, hey, listen, don't worry, we'll handle everything. Close all your stores, close everything, stay in your apartments. We'll do food deliveries. We'll bring you food. We'll take care of you. Spoiler alert, they didn't, okay? They could not have done a worse job. So even though the Genshin community wasn't perfect, still isn't perfect, even they were expecting MiHoYo to have some sort of delay or problems with content, seeing the situation in China. But even so, to their credit, they held out for quite a bit before having to make changes. Because it was at the end of April when they made this one-of-a-kind tweet that has never happened again since, where they pretty much said, we're delaying an update. This has never happened before at this point. This is huge. They've always kept an insanely well-balanced schedule, with each update coming out having 2 different banners for 20 days each and a bunch of events in between. It's always been this way since release at that point. This was the first time they straight up said, listen guys, not only are we delaying the update, we also have no idea what's gonna happen. There's no plan laid out here, okay? We just hope to survive this damn thing. They then said that they'll provide information as soon as possible, but people were wondering, when would that be? Because the situation in Shanghai, where they were located, was only getting worse. At the time, we were nearing the end of the second half of the 2.6 update. Kamisato Ayaka, a popular and well-beloved character by the Genshin community, was the character banner. Now, yeah, she was meant to be there for 20 days, okay? Just like any character banner. Yeah, sure. But the 20-day timer was running out. And people were wondering what happens. The next version got delayed, so when this timer reaches 0, what are we gonna see instead? Now, there were some reasonable theories saying that, oh, it's just gonna be a standard character, or one of those old banners that weren't too popular, or something like that, right? Oh, I wish life was that simple. Because while they were too busy discussing theories and what would happen, the thing actually did happen, and the timer reached 0. No one could have expected what they would find when they'd open the wish menu though. No one! Because as you can see from this video right here, 240 days! 240! Listen, not only was it more than 20 days, the thing was like 10 times more. No one had ever seen a number like this on a banner in this game. And the reason why this is huge is because it wasn't announced. People just opened up the banner thinking, oh, let me just check out, the character banner, see when it's gonna end. And they saw 240 days. The shock was mostly coming from the fact that we had no concrete time frame before any of this. MiHoYo said they'll have an update as soon as possible. This was the closest form of an update, 240 days. We were asking ourselves, Is this really how long it'll take for them to recover? But the simple answer was, they didn't know. No one knew. I don't even think the Chinese government knew. That's how screwed up the situation was. So of course, whenever something crazy like this happens in the Genshin community, memes start to appear fairly quickly, like this one right here. And just like with how the Kave glitch completely changed the character as a whole with his personality and how people saw him, this banner changed the way people looked at Ayaka. Because all of a sudden you had this very sweet, polite, adorable character that helps you throughout the story and in the world and is always with you, turn into this absolutely unhinged yandere who's obsessed with you and just won't leave you alone. You don't need any other limit gachas, do you? When I will be with you forever. And of course, we can't go without having the Monica meme from Doki Doki Literature Club. You have Yelan and Cookie Shinobu, which were meant to be the next banner afterwards, just absolutely trapped because they were never gonna come. This is one of my favorite images out of this whole thing, made from Ari Lair. Like, it is just so accurate. She became eternity. Raiden Shogun strive for eternity, but at the end of the day, Ayaka, the most wholesome character who helps you fight Raiden, becomes eternity herself. Like, look, even the 4-star characters are her. Everything is her. So then, because of the exaggerated community reaction to this, they just changed it to before version 2.6 ends. Which is way more reasonable than 240 days. It should have been that way from the start. However, seeing that this is the Genshin community, even something like this can't go without controversy, of course. The majority of the community was in full support of MiHoYo's decisions and wanted them to take care of themselves first before having to worry about the game, with a little vocal minority who cared more about the game than actual human lives. But you know, it happens. It's the internet, right? You know, it's just normal, right? Yeah, it is what it is. This is because the game was practically frozen in time. It was quite literally being held hostage and it could not move. Now, of course, MiHoYo employees were working remotely. But the company's priority wasn't to produce new content, it was mostly taking care of its employees and sending them care packages, aka food and water, things to not starve to death, so that they can keep on living post-pandemic and continue to make great games. Now, after no doubt a lot of logistical planning and some ridiculous brainstorming, they managed to get out of this not in 240 days, but in a month, with 2.7 being released on May 31st. And this delay to this day still affects the game because the entire timeline was shifted by a month. And while 1 month might not seem like a lot for a non-Genshin player, you have to understand the main appeal of this game is the fact that there's always something new when you log in. 1 month like this normally in a gacha game means death. But that clearly wasn't the case because it was in 2022 that MiHoYo made more money than PlayStation. Imagine if they didn't have to stop everything for a month. How much money would they have made then? I don't even want to think about it. But hopefully that's the end of the pandemic and we never hear about it again. I hope you learned something new today. But yeah, make sure to check out the sponsor and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on XXX and join the Discord. We're almost at 10K members. Woo! I'll see you next week. Love you so much. Mwah.